This is an NBC News Hotline special report. Here is Don Hickman in Memphis.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was shot outside a Memphis motel this afternoon. His condition is not known at this time. Police put out a wanted bulletin for, quote, a young white male, well-dressed, who was seen running from a brick building across the street from the Lorraine Hotel. Police said the assailant apparently jumped into a late model white car after the shooting and sped away.
Repeating that bulletin, Dr. Martin Luther King was shot outside a Memphis hotel this evening. His condition not immediately known, but he was taken to a hospital. Lou Wood, NBC News, New York.
I have some very sad news for all of you, and I think sad news for all of our fellow citizens and people who love peace all over the world. And that is that Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis, Tennessee.
Martin Luther King Day is not a remembrance of Martin Luther King's death, but a celebration of his life. The youngest Nobel Peace Prize recipient of the time was always a strong worker for civil rights for members of his race. Following in the footsteps of Mahatma Gandhi, King led the first great nonviolent demonstration for the cause of desegregation of buses throughout the United States. This bus boycott lasted 382 days, during which King had his home bombed, was arrested, and also subjected to personal abuse. For 11 years after, King traveled over 6 million miles and spoke over 2,500 times, appearing wherever there was injustice, protest, and action. And meanwhile wrote 5 books as well as numerous articles. He led a massive protest in Birmingham, Alabama that caught the attention of the entire world. He planned the drives in Alabama for the registration of African American as voters. He directed the peaceful march on Washington, D.C. of 250,000 people, to whom he delivered his address, I Have a Dream.
Just as I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
He conferred with President John F. Kennedy and President Lyndon B. Johnson for civil rights action. He was arrested upwards of 20 times and assaulted at least 4 times. He was awarded 5 honorary degrees, was named Man of the Year by Time magazine in 1963, and became not only the symbolic leader of American blacks, but also a world figure. Martin Luther King lived for his cause of achieving civil rights in America, and died for it too. In the wake of his assassination in the city where he delivered his I've Been to the Mountaintop speech.
But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
And where he was to lead a protest march, the Civil Rights Act of 1968 was passed.
What we need in the United States is not division. What we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another, feeling of justice toward those who still suffer within our country, whether they be white or whether they be black.
Run